Yes, Hazur, this question is from an Ahmadi sister. She's asking about the Surah Al-Baqarah verse 261 about Hazrat Abraham when he asked God, Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta, and the answer which God gave about the birds. She does not understand the link between the question and the answer.
Yes, quite right. Many people don't, because most of the ulama themselves have not understood, and instead of giving irrational answers, they tell amazing stories about what may have happened. The secret lies in the translation of the sur. Surhunna ilayka. The word sur may mean to make someone familiar and bring someone close to yourself so that he begins to love you. Like training of dogs and pets. That is also covered by the word sur. But it requires the sila of ilak or ilah. Otherwise, sur may mean to turn something into minced meat, to break it into pieces, cut it into pieces. So, cut it into pieces is a possible translation, which is beautiful in the sense that the question is about how death can come to life. So one meaning of it creates the image of something which is completely destroyed and killed and cut into pieces. But that is not what is meant. What is meant is resolved by the following sila ilah. Surhunna ilayka defies that meaning, that you cut them into small pieces and then make mincemeat out of them. Ilah means towards you. Surhunna ilayka means make them inclined towards you, train them, make them your pets, so that at your call they turn to you. And this is exactly how the birds are trained. Not only birds, but also even ferocious animals. In circuses you might have seen, if the lions are properly trained, they will respond to the call of their trainer and come with heads hanging low without any threat in them. In fact, they wag their tails to express their love. So this is the most important thing which should be understood at the first step. The word surhunna ilayka does not mean to mince them into meat or to turn them into minced meat, but it means that you bring them closer to you out of love and taking care of them until they become deeply attached to you. After that, put them in 4 different corners of the surrounding hills, one in the east, one in the west, one in the north, one in the south, and then call them. Now, at your call, they would come flying towards you because they know their master, they recognize the call of their master. So similarly, God can revive the dead, because all His creation is even more attached to Him. Deep inside they know, they recognize the Master's voice. So if He gives a call, everything will return to Him. And this is exactly what happens. So there is one meaning, that God is the creator, and deep inside all His creation He has imprinted that knowledge of their belonging to God. Apparently humans may deny it, but the souls, the very blueprint of life within them is etched with the message that you belong to God and you must return to God. So when the call is made, they all come to him. This is life after death in this meaning. But also, the question has to be understood as to why Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ raised this question. Of course he understood life after death. He had never any doubts about that. But he was made the messenger to a large people who were spiritually dead, who did not respond. He was inviting them to be revived spiritually. And in response they attempted to destroy him physically as well. So this was the response of the people. They were completely dead and non-responsive to the call of Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ to revive them. Yet God had made promises. God had told Abraham that I am going to make you the leader of the entire world. Your followers will not be able to be counted like the dust particles. They would become innumerable. So keep in mind the promises made by God to Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ and the real response he saw from the people around him. He said, Rabbi arini kaifa tuhil mauta, let me know how this great thing will happen, how these dead people will be revived. The question was, afalam tu'min? Avalam tu'min? Don't you believe that this will happen? He said, of course I believe. But to believe in a future realization of a promise is something else. To have a deep satisfaction that yes, it will happen, that requires another thing. That is another thing, which requires additional supportive evidence so that the heart is put at rest. So the answer was, of course I believe, my Lord, but to rest my heart at peace, to put my heart at peace or at rest, I'm asking this question. What will be the methodology? How will you do it? So God told him to, God advised him, or let's say admonished him, or guided him, is a better word, to carry this small experiment with birds. Now when the call comes from the master, the birds respond here in this earth, on this earth. So the spiritually dead will respond to the call of God when He makes that call, and they will come surrounding. But that is how God would do. But how Abraham should have done it, this is another question, which is resolved also in the same answer, covered also in the same answer. Hazrat Ibrahim is told that to win the people's faith, you must first win their hearts. You behave in a manner that people begin to love you. Behave in a manner that they are deeply attracted towards you by the power of your love. Because the birds do not have any love for the master by themselves. But when it is the master to first love them, to get that response ultimately. So to treat with Rama the people who are spiritually dead is the most essential beginning step, without which they would not begin to to answer the call. This is what we have demonstrated at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how negative was the response of the society which he addressed, but because God had made him Rahmatul lil Alameen, so his Rahmat ultimately won the battle, and they all began to respond to him. So it was a prophecy as well as a lesson to Ibrahim ﷺ to start working in this direction in the manner God has told him, they will revive in time, but not by arguments. All previous life, you remember, Hazrat Ibrahim has been given very powerful arguments. So much so that his people were completely nonplussed. But they were not revived. They in fact reacted very strongly and severely against Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ, feeling further exasperated at finding no answers to his logic. So said, all right, put him to death by burning. So the battle in the field of religion is not won by arguments. It is won by love. This is the message. And it is the love which revives the dead people. It was demonstrated in the course of the remaining life of Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ. After his departure from that township which had rejected him totally, he was ultimately accepted by a large number of followers, and he ended up as a successful prophet of God who had made a very big impression on his surroundings. But after this advice from God, not before. But at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we say a revolution took place in his lifetime, and which was entirely because of love. That is why I say he is made the universal prophet, because no other prophet could have loved the entire mankind all over the earth as sincerely, as deeply, and as committedly as Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did. And for the revival of the dead, this love is essential, which is called Rama in religious terms. So with birds also the Rama was demonstrated. The force of Rama was demonstrated. You understand the point? You think she will also get the message and she will be satisfied? I hope so, inshallah. Yes, please. You see, Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never inquired this from Allah, because he knew it, because it was imprinted into his nature, into his mind and heart. So whenever he called with this particular instruction in mind, that he must first give his love to the people, then call them to be revived. Now, when I say it is the spiritual meaning primarily which should be related to this verse, I do not make it tafsir bil rai. I can prove it. From my own personal inclination, I can prove it with the support of the Holy Quran, that this is exactly what it means here. Now, in relation to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Jalla Shanuhu proclaims or addresses the people, admonishes the people. Surah Al-Anfal, verse 25. Surah Al-Anfal, verse 25. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirrasuli iza da'akum lima yuhyikum. See? How clear it becomes, how very clear it has become, that the term hayat and maut is used by the prophets of Allah more in the sense of spiritual life and spiritual death. So Allah addresses the believers and tells them, you have believed in me and Muhammad Rasulullah sallam, because without us you are dead. Unless you respond to the call of Allah and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can't be revived. So to whatever he calls, to in whatever direction he wants you to move, always respond to his call. Lima yuhyikum, so that he could revive you. how can you address the dead who are physically dead? Evidently, this is the spiritually dead people, or who were gradually turning to life, because they had believed, after all, that meant that they were already being in the process of turning to the living, or shall I say, they had already offered themselves to be revived by belief. So God said, yes, it's good, but you have to go a long way to achieve the ultimate purpose. For every call that is made by God and Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you respond. This is the path of life. This is how you will ultimately be totally revived. Now I hope she will understand that this answer is founded on the teaching of the Quran, right?